Good morning, everybody. We are live. We are ready to do this, folks. Hope your coffee's as good as mine. Oh, fill your cups, grab your pen and paper. Got a good show for you. Unfortunately, we got to talk about Donald Trump this morning. I hate talking about that guy. I really hate talking about that guy. But it's important. So let's do this. Good morning, folks. Good morning. Man, I hope your Sundays is going as good as mine. I want to do a shout out to my boys. I'm wearing my shirt. I know it's not a sports show, so just stick with me. Stick with me. This is important. Houston, Texas. Just a shout out to my boys in Houston. D'Amico Ryans is the new coach there. They brought him in this year. He is doing an amazing job. To give you an idea, the previous 3 seasons, the Texans won a combined 11 games. This season they won 11 games. So yeah, huge turnaround. Did a great job. They're going to the playoffs. They secured themselves a berth in the playoffs last night in a win over the Colts. Colts put up a hell of a fight. They really did. Shout out to the Colts too. But the Texans have been doing an incredible job. Thumbs up to you guys. Got my Texans flag out. Way to go, guys. Way to go. Like I said, we're going to talk about Donald Trump to start off with this morning. We've got other news that we're going to get to. But, Donald Trump had himself another one of his little hate parties. And Aaron Rupar, if you want a really good source for this kind of thing, check out Aaron Rupar on X-Chan. He does an amazing job. He watches these entire rallies so that we don't have to. Good morning, Marsha. Good to see you. Thank you for the support. He does. He watches the entire thing and chops it up into clips for all of us. It's an amazing resource. Check him out. I've got a few clips for you that we need to discuss. It's important. I hate talking about Trump as much as you hate hearing about him, but it's important. It's important context. This is Trump talking about Xi yesterday, day before yesterday.
I had a great relationship with Putin. The fake news hates when I say that. He shouldn't be dealing with Putin. He said he gets along with Putin. Somebody asked me, is President Xi of China now he controls 1.4 billion people ruthlessly? Ruthlessly. No games, right? They said, is President Xi of China a brilliant man? I said, yes, he is. He's a brilliant man. Next day, Trump said President Xi is brilliant. I said, yeah, I did. They want me to say, no, he's not a very smart guy. He just runs 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. It's crazy. And they have to straighten out. I had a great relationship with Putin.
One more time.
The fake news hates when I say that. He shouldn't be dealing with Putin. He said he gets along with Putin. Somebody asked me, is President Xi of China now he controls 1.4 billion people ruthlessly? Ruthlessly. No games, right? They said, is President Xi of China a brilliant man? I said, yes, he is. He's a brilliant man. Next day,
President Xi, dictator, controls 1.4 billion people ruthlessly. Brilliant guy. Brilliant guy. Yeah, if I told you that, you would think it was hyperbole. You would think that I was, adding my own twang to it. That's why you need to hear this stuff out of his own mouth. That's why Aaron Rupar is great. I really do. One more shout out for Aaron Rupar. Wonderful source. I subscribe to his you should subscribe to his newsletter. But yeah, that is Trump in a nutshell. He's telling you what his values are. He's telling you what he thinks. He's telling you plain in the open, 100%. That guy's brilliant. He controls his people ruthlessly. What more do you need to hear? I mean, what more has it ever once crossed your mind that President Joe Biden would say something like that? That would think that someone that rules their people ruthlessly is brilliant? Because I have to tell you that's weakness, that's failure. If you have to lead your people that way, the way she does, you're a failed leader. You're not a leader. You're a fascist. It's really that simple. But there was more. Trump put his full stupidity on display. He was also talking. I thought it was redundant to play it. He also talked about Saddam Hussein and put his full ignorance on display. He tried to seem like a smart guy and talk about the history of Iran, and it was just complete idiocy. The guy obviously does not understand the history of Persia or Mesopotamia or anything along those lines. He just doesn't. He doesn't. Thank you for the support, Carolyn. I really appreciate you. Thank you. The guy doesn't get it. He doesn't understand history. He doesn't understand basic things. Sitting there talking about Saddam Hussein like he's, again, brilliant, smart guy. We should have never taken him out. I mean, it was just, anyways, I thought it was redundant to play both those videos back to back. But here he is talking about the Civil War. And I just want you to understand how screwed up this man's mind is. Listen to what he talks about the Civil War.
I love studying if you take a look, the wars, I don't know what it is. The Civil War was so fascinating, so horrible.
Okay, I got to back this up. I'm sorry for interrupting it. I know I hate when people do this, but I'm sorry. He has never studied the Civil War, ever. And the fact that he said, I studied the Civil War, that's just a lie. But let's start over.
Studying if you take a look, the wars, I don't know what it is. The Civil War was so fascinating, so horrible. It was so horrible, but so fascinating. It was, I don't know, it was just different. I just find it, I'm so attracted to seeing it. So many mistakes were made. See, there was something I think could have been negotiated, to be honest with you. I think you could have negotiated that. All the people died. So many people died. That was the disaster. If you got hit by a bullet in the leg, you were essentially going to die or lose the leg. That's why you had so many people, no legs, no arms. If you got hit in the arm or the leg, it meant you were up because the infection, gangrene. It was just such a, sort of a horrible time. But I was thinking to myself, because I was reading something, and I said, this is something that could have been negotiated. It was just for all those people to die, and they.
What the hell is negotiated? I'm sorry to make fun of people's accents, but this is just the way he talks. Vets. It's vets. He says vets. What the hell are vets? I know what votes are. What are vets? And negotiated? I've never negotiated. I've negotiated many times, but never negotiated. But he says it multiple. It just drives me up. It's like nails on a freaking chalkboard.
And they died viciously. That was a vicious, vicious war. And in many ways, look, they're all this, nothing nice about it. But boy, that was a tough one for our country. But I think it's, Abraham Lincoln. Of course, if he negotiated it, you probably wouldn't even know who Abraham Lincoln was. He would have been president.
This guy thinks Okay. For folks that honestly will tell you, history's not their thing. It was the 1860 election that kicked off the Civil War. It was the election of Abraham Lincoln and an abolitionist, that kicked off the Civil War. It all goes back to the 1860 election. There was nothing to negotiate about it. Slavery was going to go away. The majority of the country said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. You're not going to own human beings. And the South said, yeah, we are. And there was no way to negotiate that. There was no way to negotiate that unless you're just willing to accept slavery, which they were not. Thank God. But yeah, that is the way this man thinks. One, he's got Dunning-Kruger to the extreme. He's too stupid to know he's stupid. So he's way overconfident. He thinks he could negotiate the Civil War, negotiate slavery. And it doesn't faze him at all that he's talking about negotiating slavery. Folks, this is why I loved Maya Angelou. This is why I loved Maya Angelou. When someone tells you who they are, when someone tells you it is their moral fiber and character that they believe they could have negotiated some middle ground between owning human beings and not accepting owning human beings, believe them the first time. But yeah, it didn't stop there, folks. It didn't. I just want you to see, this is near the end, why you have to be so active, why you have to be so involved. Hit the damn subscribe button while we're talking about it. Hit the thumbs up button. That's your job. That helps us in the algorithm, gets this message out. Look what their people do. Look at their response to this. When he's talking about all the crazy shit, negotiating the Civil War and what a great guy Saddam Hussein was and how brilliant she is, you wouldn't even know there was a crowd there. You wouldn't. But listen to when he starts hating on people. Listen to when he starts hating on transgender folks and starts ranting about CRT. Listen to the people. This is important.
In our country. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto our children.
Don't play it twice.
Amazing. It's amazing that you have a country. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto our children. All right?
Okay, schools aren't pushing content onto your children. They're not doing it, period. They're just not. This whole CRT thing was fabricated from the get-go, but listen to them, how animated they become. You wouldn't even know the previous clips that I was playing. You wouldn't even know that crowd was there. But he starts talking about anti-CRT and those white racist dog whistles and then hating on transgender people and boom. Start clapping like a bunch of freaking seals at SeaWorld. That's who these people are. That's who these people are. And that's why you can't just be a spectator. As much as you enjoy hanging out with old Texas Paul, drinking some coffee, having a good time, watching him dance in his seat because he's had 6 cups of coffee this morning and really has to go pee. Yeah, that's all well and fun, but that is not the end of your responsibility here. You have to be involved. You have to be involved because they're involved. Those people that have that hate. I love you folks. I just looked at and saw this Jason Ladd. Seals are smarter. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And I know I wasn't hating on seals. But yeah. No, but seriously, folks, that's why you got to be involved. I mean, Trump is awful, but the people that follow him are worse. They are worse. You know, he's up there just, to quote Donald Trump, low energy, talking about things that he has no clue, trying to riff it. You know, he's a grifter. That's bad enough. But think about what kind of people had to, to be animated by that, to jump up and scream, woo, cheer that. To just cheer that. And Diana Turner, 1, thank you for the support. 2, amen, sister. They are. They are feeding these messages to your kids. Turning Point USA exists in whole. Charlie Kirk, Mr. Potato Head, exists in whole to put this message out to your children in college. They wrap it up as though it's some sort of smart thing and makes people that listen to it think that, now, aren't you smart for knowing this? They really do. They're talking to your kids. You send your kids off to school. They're in some high schools, folks. They're in some high schools. My ride or die Democrats out there, love you. Thank you, Mary P. But yeah, this is what they are. This is who they are. This is why you have to be involved. And believe it or not, it gets worse. I don't have another video for you because this isn't video content. This is just disgusting. Trump has refused to sign the loyalty oath that they put into the packet. When you fill out your application to be on a ballot, there's an actual application. And in that application in Illinois, going back to the old McCarthy days when they were hating on the communists and all that other stuff, they created what they called the loyalty oath. And it's not required, but every president has signed it, including Trump in 2016 and 2020. All it is a promise that you won't try to overthrow the government. Remember, this comes out on the McCarthy days, that you won't try to overthrow the government. Trump wouldn't sign it this year. He turned in his packet, left that one blank. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. They're already claiming that they've already started the rhetoric that the election's stolen. They're cheating. They're starting that all over again. He's put out one of his damn, whatever the hell you call it when he talks on Truth Social. He said that they're going to do the insurrection again. And he threatened people. That was one of the things there in Rupert had there, another video where he says, you better not vote for Biden again. You better not. A guy that's talking about setting up camps, a guy that's talking about, thanks for the support, Kathy. I appreciate it. Who's talking about getting vengeance on people. right there in one of his little hate parties there that he's going to have in Iowa. He says, you better not vote for Joe Biden. Corey Barton, thanks for the support. So yeah, let it all sink in, folks. Like Maya Angelou said, when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time. The first time. And I just want to remind you, that this guy that wouldn't sign the loyalty oath should not overthrow the government, that this is still going on. You can go to project2025.org and read it for yourself. Just a reminder that this is not something I'm making up. This is not something that I am, being hyperbolic about. This is something that you can go to on your own, project2025.org, and read what they say. And they say that when Donald Trump was president last time, there were institutions that stood against him when he tried to have his coup, for instance. And this entire project is designed to have a slate of employees to put in place on day one to gut those institutions that stood against Donald Trump and make sure they cannot stand against him in the future. That's the project. And they're telling you that. It's plain and simple. There's a job application there where you can put in your bona fides that you are radical, freaky enough, love Donald Trump, that you will absolutely join their cause. Robert Culbertson and Ramona Abrego, thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Kim P. Trump is certifiable crazy, dangerous fool. Project 25 is our guide to challenge and engage against it. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. 100%. They're telling you. She is a genius. She, who is brutal to his people, they know it. They say, he tells you 1.4 billion people, he runs them brutally. Man's a genius. Out of his own mouth. I didn't edit that. I didn't shorten it. I didn't. He said it all repeatedly. That's the way it is, folks. That's the way it is. It's really who he is. That's really who is going to be on the ballot. Hopefully not in every state. Come on, Colorado. Come on, Maine. Apparently there's 16 other states that are moving forward this week. Should get interesting. So I love you folks. Thank you, Benaloco. Love when you're here. Riding with Biden because the alternative is not an option. Out getting voters to register. Amen. And that's where I was going to wrap that up. I was going to land that plane with this. This election's got to be different with you. Oh, man, that coffee's good. I hope your coffee's as good as mine. This election's got to be different with you. This election can't be a spectator sport. It's got to be participatory. Folks, phone banking is easy. There are ways for even busy people to volunteer. There are. Phone banking is easy. You sign up and volunteer to phone bank, they will give you a script, short script, because they don't want you wasting people's time. They know that short conversations are best. You get on your cell phone. You don't even have to be in the same state to do that. Long distance is free on a cell phone. They'll teach you how to, you can hide your number if you're uncomfortable with showing your phone number. You just call people and talk to them. Door knocking. That's even better. That is even better. You know, people are said, oh, I'm kind of scared to door knock. Folks, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. One, you're never alone. And two, even if folks are avid Trumpers, even if they hate Democrats, worst they're going to do is tell you to leave. Get off my property. Okay, have a good day, sir. And it'll be a guy. The women are never jerks. The women just say, no, thank you. I don't want to talk to you. Go on. How could you support them people? That's the worst you're going to hear. So yeah, do it, folks. Do it. Get out there. Be participatory this time. Get into these campaigns because that's the alternative. Really, that's the alternative. Is a guy that thinks she's a genius who has an entire movement funded by, the billionaire frat boys club that are funding the 2025 project to try to make him a dictator so that we never have an election again. That's the goal. Trump forever. So yeah, that's how I wanted to land that plane, folks. I need you involved. Well, in other news today, remember Ashleybbett? Yesterday being January 6th, her husband decided, along with the right-wing freakazoid group Judicial Watch, that it was a good time to file a wrongful death lawsuit for $30 million over the death of Ashleybbett. Good luck with that. There's new video that's actually come out. For you to see the video, a news agency really has to pay somebody for it. And news agencies, they had enough. They didn't need to buy more. Well, with this coming out, they're like revisiting that and they're buying, and there's more video of Ashleybbett coming out. So stay tuned. I've got the original video here from her behavior, but I just wanted you to see. I want you to see what her lawyers are saying. Ashley did not go to Washington as part of a group or for any unlawful or nefarious purpose. Really? The lawsuit says she was there to exercise what she believed were her God-given American liberties and freedoms. Okay. So you say? Let's take a look. This is the old video. This is the old video of Ashleybbett. Ashleybbet's the one on the right there with the mask on and the hood. That's Ashleybbett. They smash out that window. And there she goes. That's not your God-given right. Nothing about that video is your God-given right. Folks, I've been there. I've stood there. That is the doors. There's a hallway. That is the doors that lead into the speaker's lobby. Nothing about that is your God-given right. These people believe this crap. Judicial Watch and the Babbit family believe that crap. She did nothing wrong. Folks, let me tell you how close that coup came. I've showed you before the staffers and the pages that had the Electoral College the electors' votes. There's the ornamental boxes that they carry them in. Had they not carried those boxes out, the coup would have succeeded. Those young people saved our democracy. The coup would have succeeded because they would have destroyed those original ballots. And the Republicans would have just tied everything up in a lawsuit, which was remember, folks, that was the goal of the coup. Just delay, because if you delay, our Constitution is written that we must have a president, we must have continuing leadership. So if anything gets disputed long enough, it goes back to the legislatures, and the Republicans had more states at the time. They didn't represent more people, but they did represent more states. Each state getting one vote, they would have made Trump president. That was the coup. That was the whole coup. If they would have gotten to those ballots, they would have sued and delayed and sued and delayed. Trump would have been president. That was the coup. The other part was if they could have gotten to anyone in Congress. The Republicans were willing to delay. Ted Cruz was openly objecting. Farty Mars, the elevator flatulator, they were objecting to the slates of electors. If Congress had not reconvened, they were going to delay until Trump became president. That was the coup. That was the plan. Folks, there were members of Congress on the other side of that door. They were trying to evacuate these people. Good luck, Babbit family. You're going to need it because you're going to lose. Thank you for the support, White Dove. I appreciate you. But yeah, back to the original thing we're talking about with Trump. That's the way these people think. Babbitt's husband actually believes that Ashleybbett did nothing wrong there. And that's not the worst of it. The new video is much worse. In that video, you see her standing to the side, and then when the guy knocks the window out, she jumps up and goes through it. Tries to go through it. That's not the worst of it. The new video, she's just as bad as those guys in the front. When the officers are still there, they had to pull cops out because they didn't have riot gear, any way to protect themselves. They were outnumbered 100-2. Peter Campbell, I've been on a tour of the Capitol, and the only broken glass was someone accidentally dropping a coffee cup in the cafeteria. Not just a tour on January 6th. Amen, brother. It wasn't just a tour. Imagine had Michael Byrd not acted, Lieutenant Michael Byrd not acted there. And they got through, and they got to the members of Congress. They brought zip ties, folks. They brought zip tie handcuffs. And I don't know if you know how these things work, but the first people that got into the legislators may have just yelled at them and told them how they felt and this and that. But that's not how these things work. Once they detained those legislators, the folks that were in charge, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, the ones that were in charge that had a goal would have taken charge in that situation. And we would have had a hostage situation on our hands. And then the coup would have worked because they would have delayed the certification. And then the Republicans would have appointed Trump. They were okay with that. And like Mary P says, they built gallows. Folks, that's who these people are. Believe them. Believe them. Believe they're the kind of people that will try to sue you and me, the people, the American people, and get $30 million out of us after they did what Ashleybbett did that day. After her compatriots pissed and shit on our Capitol. They smeared shit on the walls, folks. Which leads us to our next story. We had some good news on the anniversary of January 6th. The FBI has nabbed these three idiots. I love seeing that. Look at this. Doesn't she look like a nice little terrorist? That's Olivia Pollock. This is Jonathan Pollock. Can y'all see that cursor okay? I made it about as big as I can make it and still have it function, and now it's bright red. But yeah, it's Jonathan Daniel Pollock, Olivia Michelle Pollock, and Joseph Daniel Hutchinson. Jonathan here goes by Johnny. Johnny here was the most violent of the three. They were arrested together. This is the freaking hilarious part. They had all been previously arrested. Johnny ran immediately after being arrested. He split and disappeared. The other two kept participating in their trials up until March of last year when they cut their monitoring bracelets off and took off. They were under court order not to talk to Johnny, who was a fugitive at the time. All three were arrested together at a ranch in Lake County, Florida. If you want to know where that is, let's go to the map. I'll show you. This is Lake County, Florida. See Orlando here. It's to the west and northwest. This area right here, not that important, just in case you wanted to know. That's in Central Florida. Kind of get the idea where we're talking about. They were all hanging out together at a ranch there in Central Florida when they got arrested. Old Johnny boy, he was the most violent of them all. I want you to imagine throwing your life away at the age of 18. He was 18 years old back on January. He's 21 now. Old Johnny ran into, the officers were standing there with shields. He ran into them several times. He took one officer's shield away and hit officers with the shield. Then when one of the officers went down, another guy and Johnny beat the shit out of that officer. The other guy had a flagpole, was beating the crap out of the officer with it. Johnny was punching him and kneeing the officer. Just a real patriot. But they all got busted. 3 years later, they're still taking them down, folks. Still taking them down. Could you imagine being that young and throwing your life away for what? A television game show guy, a grifter, a guy that's lied his entire life. I mean, damn. I just couldn't imagine. My life has more value, folks. Thank you, Dana. And they speak about backing the blue. My ass. Oh my God. I can't wrap my head around these people. I wish you or somebody could explain to me what motivates these people. Trump is repugnant to me. And the minute I I never watched his stupid show. I never did. But when he started giving political speeches, I was like, nah, that's bullshit. That guy's full of shit. Saw it right away. What the hell motivates these people to throw their lives away? They traveled from Florida to Washington, D.C. They fought cops. They tried to physically capture members of our government. What the hell? I mean, good Lord. And you know, that kind of craziness, it gets worse. I want to show you something. Do you remember during the Iraq War, there was this guy by the name of Scott Ritter? Everybody loved this freaking guy. I told you there was something wrong with this guy. I told you. Then after the Iraq War, we find out he's a freaking pedophile. He was a weapons inspector, former Marine weapons inspector. I told you there was something really freaking wrong with that guy. Then they found out he was a freaking pedophile. Well, he's not gone. He's part of that I Love Russia cult. This is Scott Ritter in Chechnya. You're not going to believe your eyes, folks. I mean, this is incredible. Let me just go to the video so you can see it. Speaking in broken Russian. You're going to have to watch, I'll read the captions for you.
Я хочу предоставить слово
I'd like
нашему
to go to our
уважаемому
dear guest.
гостю. Большое спасибо, ваш президент, ваш командир, ваш офицерам.
Your president, your commander, your officers, and your soldiers of Chechnya. That's Scott Ritter.
Chechnya.
This is my second time to Chechnya.
Мой первый раз,
The first time I came, people said to me, why do you want to visit Chechnya? Good freaking question.
Я говорю, надо.
I said, I have to visit.
Потому что сейчас
Why? Because now in America, your people only know. When I say Chechnya, they think the people are frightening. Frightening isn't good. Frightening is bad. It isn't true. While visiting, I've seen Chechen people, the best people. People want to live in peace. They brutally murder people in Chechnya, by the way. You are fearsome soldiers. I know your history. I know you are the heroes of Mariupol. I can't listen anymore. This is going to make me vomit in my mouth. Going to make me vomit in my own mouth. Yeah. Giving speeches in the public square to Chechen soldiers about how we Americans just misunderstand them, that we know they're good, peaceful people, and they are not. Kadyrov is a brutal murderer and a dictator. And you've got these assholes going over there pressing flesh. Softball Paul, you think that guy's a traitor? I mean, great comment, but you think? Scott Ritter's crap is all over Russia today. RT. If you don't know what RT is, that's Russian state television, folks. They spread that out through Europe, and you can watch it here in the United States. RT is constantly putting Scott Ritter and his bullshit out there. So much so, they invited him to Chechnya to speak. That's what they see, folks. They don't see what we are and who we are, what our beliefs are, the kind of people we are. They hear that crap. And it's pathetic. It's pathetic. Anyways, got another big story breaking. This is Lloyd Austin. He is our defense secretary. Sharp guy. Very sharp guy. Lloyd Austin had a surgery. an elective surgery over the holidays, and he had some complications. So he went back to the doctor on the 1st. I don't know about you, but when I go to the doctor, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what they're going to do when I get there, how bad it is. I'm not a frickin' doctor. It was an elective surgery, so more than likely it was, I don't know. They didn't talk about it because, everything that's going on in the Middle East and how the terrorist organizations like to take advantage. They kept it kind of quiet. An elective surgery means it's non-life-threatening. It's not something that you got to do today. It's something you choose to do, hence the word elective. So it could have been anything from getting a freaking mole removed to a freaking ass surgery where he had some polyps removed. It could have been, we don't know. But he had complications, which means either had an infection or some bleeding or something. Something didn't go right. So he went back on the 1st. I'm sure the guy had no idea what they were going to do at Walter Reed, but they just said, look, we need to keep you. Apparently it got worse. The second day, they moved him to ICU just to keep an eye on him. That's what they do. He was never incapacitated. Well, there is a group of people that pretend to be us. And this is where I'm going with it. Yar Ali is not a Democrat. Yar Ali is a Yar Alian. That's who he's in for. Mehdi Hassan is not a Democrat. He is not. He is in it for Mehdi Hassan and whatever drives him. He has no loyalty to us. I get emails all the damn time. Thanks for the support, Brian Peach. I appreciate it. And I'm going to piss some people off with this next statement. I don't even care. I do not support, like, or follow the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur is a jackass who has loyalty to himself. Whatever he can sell is what he says. I am not that way, folks. I am not. Trina Lengo, I appreciate it. If MAGA Mike was a real Christian, he should have said what Jesus said when the devil offered him power of the world. Get behind me, Satan. That's a good one. That's a good one. But no, let me tell you what I am. I get accused all the time. Texas Paul, he's a paid Democrat. There's pictures of me at the White House that the right-wingers, every time I get a post that goes viral, they post it, a picture of me at the White House that says, yeah, Texas Paul is a paid shill. I am not a paid shill. No one pays me, unfortunately. I'd take that money in a heartbeat. I would, man. I am a ride or die Democrat, folks. I don't hide it. That is who I am. What I do is best for the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party, even when we screw up trying to help people. The Republicans are trying to end our democracy. So hell yeah, I'm Team Democrat. And I'm going to go back to this story. This is all relevant. If the Democratic Party came to me tomorrow and said, Paul, we have this data and it shows you doing your show is hurting our cause. Please stop doing your show. You would never see another show out of me. I don't hide my loyalties. I don't hide my objectives. There's one party going forward, and that is the Democratic Party. Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks are about Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks. They're about putting money in their pocket. That's who they are. And it frustrates the shit out of me. Barbara Lanke, Mehdi Hassan had so much potential to be a force for good. Sad. It is sad. It really is. The guy had talent. He could do a monologue like you wouldn't believe. But he lost the big picture. He lost the script. You don't have to agree with everything the Democratic Party does. You don't. but you don't try to take down the Democratic Party. September Boss, I appreciate you. We have a candidate. His name is Joseph Robinette Biden. Thanks for the support, Jesse. I appreciate you. I really do. And I'm going to fight for him. I am. I'm going to fight for the guy, tooth and nail. What I'm not going to try to do is get clicks like this. This is Yar Ali. Now, I want you to keep in mind, Yar Ali has no inside information whatsoever. He does not know half the people I know in politics. And I am not an insider. This guy is an internet influencer. And he writes, news. This is a scandal and absolutely outrageous. Not only was the public not informed that the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, was hospitalized for 4 days, but he was in intensive care for those 4 days and not able to work. He wasn't in intensive care for 4 days. He wasn't. And he was able to work. The White House was not informed until Thursday that Austin was hospitalized. This includes National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Congressional leaders also weren't informed that Austin was in intensive care. Even senior DOD officials weren't informed. That's a lie. That's a lie. Anyways, you get the point. He is really trying to sell there's a scandal here. Thank you, Med USA. I found my fountain of truth, and this is where I will drink. I'm glad. I am glad. I am glad you're here, my friend. I am glad you're here. Just got a comment. Sorry, it made me giggle. But here's my point, folks. Here's my point. Here's the statement. Here's the statement from the Pentagon. I'll read it for you. It's from it is from Lloyd Austin's press secretary. How cool would it be to have a 2-star general, a major general for a press secretary? This is a statement from Major General Pat Ryder on the Secretary of Defense and his hospitalization. On the evening of January 1st, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin was admitted to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center for a complication following a recent elective medical procedure. He is recovering well and is expecting to resume his full duties today. At all times, the Deputy Secretary of Defense was prepared to act for and exercise the powers of Secretary if required. Folks, this is Kate Hicks. You don't know who Kate Hicks is because she just does her job. This is Kate Hicks. This is the Deputy Secretary of Defense. And she does a full-time job. If you know how these departments work, the deputies know more than the boss. They do. Problems roll uphill, and it has to be a certain size problem before it gets past a deputy. Okay? The deputies are out there doing the work. They are. Kate Hicks is capable. And with Lloyd Austin going into the hospital, she was looped in on everything. It's exactly. Peter Campbell says it's simple. It's called a chain of command. There was no nefariousness. There was no trying to hide it, or there was no failure. Lloyd Austin was not incapacitated ever. He was doing his job. The man never stopped doing his job. But yet you have these people. This is why I don't do the Young Turks. This is why I don't do Mehdi Hassan. This is why I don't do Yar Ali. They don't tell you that this is not some scandal. It's not. And the White House has come out and said, we knew. We knew. Jake Sullivan didn't know. The National Security Advisor, he didn't know. The president wasn't briefed on it. When the president found out he'd been in the hospital, he called him and said, hey, how you doing, man? You feeling okay? You know, the way Joe Biden does. But it wasn't necessary because nobody stopped doing their job. That's the way this White House works. Nobody has to babysit Joe Biden. And Joe Biden doesn't have to put his fingers into everything and hold a press conference, you know, like they did with Dr. Fauci, where where Trump, who was president at the time, had to stand out in front of the cameras and try to pretend he was so smart. It doesn't work that way in a real government. These people are competent and they do their jobs. La Smoocheria said, I stood up for Secretary Austin yesterday on Threads against Yar Ali and more. Screw the Young Turks. They want to burn it all down if they don't get everything. Truth. That is why there are things that the Democrats do that I do not agree with, but I will be damned if I'm going to get 95% of what I want and not support the Democratic Party because that 5% just no, that's my job. That's my job to keep fighting. If I want to change something, the best way to do it is from within the party. You don't burn the damn house down. You don't threaten to stay home. Got an update on the Red Sea. The Iranians, this is hilarious. This is freaking hilarious. We started blowing Houthi boats out of the water. And these aren't like little wooden, like, you know, canoes. I mean, these are boats. I mean, these are attack boats. We started blowing them out of the water because we're not going to put up with this shit in the Red Sea. We're just not. We're not going to do it, folks. We are. There will be shipping, period. Like I said, the UK is already screaming that they want airstrikes in Yemen. They are tired of these drones. They're tired of it all. Well, the Iranians said, well, you can't sink our boats like that. Oh, yes, we can. Oh, no, you can't. We're going to send a destroyer to the Red Sea. We dare you to attack one of our boats. This is what they said, man. This is freaking hilarious. This is just freaking hilarious. This is the Alborz. Looks like something out of McHale's Navy. This is the Iranian Destroyer Alborz. Can you see this thing? I mean, this is a 1950s recheck. I don't know how clearly you could see this, how big your image is, but zoom in on this. This is freaking hilarious. You see the smokestack on top? It's a freaking... This is hilarious. But yeah, all over social media, man, the Iranians are backing us down with their destroyer. Anyways, I just thought you should know we may end up sinking an Iranian destroyer. So, folks, I want to talk to you a little bit about scale. I'm going to wrap this up with this, and then we'll go to the round table. You know, there's been things going on in different areas of the Middle East. People got very upset about what was going on in Palestine, in Gaza. And the problem is people don't really get scale because you only know what you're presented. And stick with me, folks. I am not going to say anything, comment on the subjects at all. What I'm going to talk about is the media and the way we get information. And I want you to stick with me on this, okay? War is horrible. It is. War is just horrible. It is human suffering incarnate. Thank you, Ashleybbett. I appreciate it. Yes, I do. I spread the truth. I do. And I'm going to spread some more truth, and I want you to understand this. This is important. This this right here, this represents all of the human suffering, all of the death, every bomb, every bullet, everything that has happened in Gaza, all the tragedy. We're just using this for scale. I'm not making light of it. This is all of it. This is what's happened in Ukraine. See, the Ukrainians have been really good about the psyops of war. They needed, and I'm not making light of what happened. Tragedy is tragedy. Pain is pain. Innocent people dying is bad, period. But what you don't get from the media is context and scale. In Ukraine, the Ukrainians have been really great because they had to sell to the world that they could defeat Russia. If it was a lost cause, no one would have supported them. They had to convince the world that they could win. So you saw psyops engaged in. That's part of war. Psyops are part of war. And the Ukrainians were really great. They had this one where you'd see soldiers with cats. Go ahead and bring that up if you can. You'd see soldiers with Ukrainian soldiers with cats. This picture was huge on the internet. These Ukrainian soldiers in a transport there, cruising along with their cat, he's in his gear. They really put a face forward that convinced people to support them. They really would. They really did. They did a great job. And people really feel like that Ukraine is okay. People, I need you to understand, they're winning and they're fighting the Russians off, but they are not okay. They are not okay. Ukraine is an agricultural country. The majority of Ukraine is farmland. The majority of the population is in the cities. And they are not okay. Go ahead and bring them up. They are not okay. The Russians, in 2022 alone, fired 11 million artillery shells into Ukraine. 11 million. They just bought 1.5 million shitty artillery shells from North Korea because Russia can only produce about 2 million a year and they're burning through all of them. Ukraine's not okay. They're not. The Russians have told us themselves. This is not like you see in other areas of the world. I'm not going to diminish anything or anyone, but you hear about casualty statistics and they're coming from one side. The Russians have told us they did this. They have taken 700, and this is Russia's number, folks. Russia says this. They have taken 700,000 Ukrainian children. They say they rescued them, quote, rescued them. What did they do to their parents? That's one question. They took 700,000 children from Ukraine. They kidnap them. They're sending them to re-education schools to make them hate their own country. They're adopting them out to Russian families. And folks, if you think we have an abuse problem in our adoption system, there's not a war going on. They're not adopting out kids from a country that they're at war with. These kids are being abused. These kids are being used as servants. These kids are just... Ukraine is not okay. Go ahead and take them down. How do we get them what they need? Peter Campbell says, at the beginning of the war, an expert in unexploded bomb removal said it may take 10 years to clear farmlands. Yeah. It's going to take decades to fix Ukraine. It is. 700,000 children were taken. And that's what the Russians say. Okay, that number comes out of Russia. Those kids are never going to be right. Ukraine needs our help. Folks, that 11 million number from 2022, that's what they 11 million in 2022. 2023, they fired less because they could only make 2 million a year and they burned through their inventories, but they're buying them from anyone they can get them from. And they're using shells from North Korea that are so shoddily manufactured. They're hitting their own people. The way an artillery shell works is you've got two pieces. You've got the projectile and you've got the powder charge behind it. The North Koreans make such shoddy shells that they don't fit properly into the breech. They're either too tight or too loose, so they can't accurately, pinpointing artillery and aiming artillery is not rocket science. You have the amount of propellant versus the weight of the shell versus the angle of the gun. You know where it's going to go. You know what angle you're firing at. You can calculate where that shell is going to land. If the shell's too big or too small in the breech, you can't. If the high explosives aren't packed into the shell properly, the shell's going to wobble when it flies. They're landing on their own troops. I don't have a problem with that. They're destroying their own guns. I don't have a problem with that at all. But that's just a testament to how many shells the Russians are throwing at the Ukrainians. We've got to support them, folks. We have got to support them. Yeah, they've done an amazing job. They have. They're winning. They're winning. The Ukrainians are winning. They're driving the Russians out slowly but surely. But folks, God damn. We could end this much faster. Much faster. And right now, the Republicans who are on the side of Putin are trying to let Putin win. Because they know, folks. They know what these cities look like. They know how devastated they are. They know the human toll, the disease. The people fleeing their homes they're having to find homes for them. They know. And they're trying to cut off our support for Ukraine. I need you. The question was asked, how do we get them the help they need? They can do it with the stroke of a pen. We have a third of our HIMARS munitions are going out of date. See, we're a first world country. We actually have dates on things or how long they last and how long they're good. A third of our HIMARS munitions are going out of date. We're going to burn them. That's part of what the Republicans are doing. They're trying to drag their feet till we burn these munitions because they've got to be disposed of. We could give those to Ukraine. They're still functional. They're just aging, and our highly effective, precise military won't use munitions that aren't 100%. They're going to have a few more failures with these, but we could give them to them. That's part of when they say, oh, we gave billions to Ukraine. We gave them used equipment. They won't even let us give munitions that we're going to burn because they want Putin to win. Cecile Coleman, my grandma used to say in certain situations, her quote, he make my butt want a pinch of snuff. End quote. When I hear Trump's name, I think of her. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. These Republicans are horrible. Get on the phone. Get on the phone with Republicans in your state. Tell them you're going to send money to their opponents. You're going to work for their opponents. They're making you get out of your living room and go work for candidates because they will not support Ukraine. Folks, I need you to understand the scale of what's going on because we're going to talk about something else next. This is all the awful human tragedy in Gaza. This is Ukraine. Compare them. It doesn't mean anyone is less tragic. Just, it's the scale, folks. There are over 50 million people in Ukraine. They've taken 700,000 Ukrainian children hostage. And folks, it's the media. It's the media's fault. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's the media's fault. The media doesn't tell you things. There's a situation going on right now. Right now. And this is what I'm in the show with. I need you to stay with me, please. The Janjaweed are a militia. They're an Arab militia in Sudan. And for the last couple decades, they've been engaging in a real genocide. See, this is the Janjaweed, and this will be clear to you. This is the Janjaweed. They are slaughtering Black African tribes. The Janjaweed isn't a tribe. It is a congregation of Arab tribes in western and northwestern Sudan and eastern Chad. This is an ethnic war. The Janjaweed are supported by Russia. We don't have a dog in this fight. The Janjaweed has rebranded themselves as the RSF, and they have re-engaged in that genocide. The other side is the Sudanese government. They're supported by China. The Russians support the RSF, the old Janjaweed. And they are brutally murdering people. And the reason you haven't heard about it, and I hate to be brutally honest, but it's this. This is their victims. These are the Black Africans they're butchering. The reason you haven't heard about it is because you cannot fundraise off that face. White liberals in the United States will not cut checks to NGOs like Human Rights Watch. They will not press for funding to go to the UN, RWA, or any of these. They can't make money off these people. So you don't hear about them. Folks, the RSF just a couple days ago went into one of these camps. They killed the men. They went shack to shack to shack to shack to shack, pulled the men out and shot them in the street and raped the women. Just a couple days ago. But you're not hearing about it because A, there are no Jews. No Jews, no news. B, the RSF are funded in part by Saudi Arabia. They're funded in part by the United Arab Emirates, who use them as a proxy army to fight the Houthis, who are funded by Iran in Yemen. And these same groups, see, the news media, they get their news from these groups. They don't put people on the ground to risk their lives. That's why all of the statistics you got were from in Gaza were from the Gaza Health Ministry or Hamas. That's the news the corporate news media went with. Well, there is no one in Sudan to represent these people. And like I said, we're not there. And that's what I'm ending with, folks. This is where I want you to go with me on this. We got to get off the high road. We've got to get off the high road. The reason we're not involved in Sudan, because there's no good people there. There's no nice side there. The Black African tribes brutally protected their lands. They killed these Arab nomads that became the Janjaweed. And when the Janjaweed was formed and started getting support from Russia, they absolutely started killing the Black African tribes, committing genocide in the most brutal fashion. Exactly. We ignored Rwanda also. This is where I'm going with this, okay? Trust me, this is important. The government in Sudan, the leader of the RSF is a guy by the name of Hamedi. He goes by Hamedi. Brutal genocide terrorists. The ruler of Sudan, the one that the elites accept, he's just as bad. He was part of that same genocide before the two of them overthrew the government. Now Hamedi wants to run the government. The other guy is running the government. There's no good side here. The Arab League uses them as proxy soldiers. The Russians use them because in exchange for guns, they get access to the oil. The Chinese are there. The Chinese are there because they get access to the oil fields. We're not there. The only presence we have in Sudan is with U.S. aid, and we're feeding them. We're feeding the terrorists because it's the same situation. We deliver aid, the terrorists show up and take it at gunpoint. Because we don't want to be involved with anybody that's bad. And they're all bad. But you know what else they are? They're on the Red Sea. They're on the Red Sea. Sudan borders the Red Sea across from Saudi Arabia. And when it comes totally underneath the care and control of Russia, when the RSF wins, because the RSF is being way more brutal, the Sudanese government is trying to maintain some sense, that they're an actual government. So they're not being as brutal. They're losing. When the RSF takes Sudan, we will have a terrorist state on the Red Sea. There goes your Asia shipping to Europe. There's your World War III. There is your World War III. Just like the Ottoman Empire and World War I, this will be World War III. Because we wanted to be high road. Because politically, it will come with a cost. If we pick a side in this, no matter what side we pick, the Republicans will use it against us. Sometimes there are no good sides, but you cannot stay out anyways. That's just the truth. In this world, sometimes there is no good side, but staying out of it isn't an option. The same exact thing is happening in Libya right now. We can't abandon this region. Russia didn't. Russia is funding its war off the treasure it steals from these countries. It's keeping these countries with the arms that it sends to Africa. Russia's crumbling. We could overwhelm them easily if we picked a side in any of these conflicts. We could overwhelm them and exert influence, and in the long run, make it a better place. But it would be ugly. It would be ugly. You would be supporting people that are butchers. But that's who's there. Right now, let me tell you what's going on. I'm going to end this. I'm going to land this plane right now in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You have a leader who was brutal. But he is trying. He is trying to unpariah himself and get back out into the community of nations. There's no good option there. We can stay on this high road. We've abandoned Africa. We have abandoned Africa. But just because we're on the high road doesn't mean it's not going to come home to roost. It is. Not participating is a choice, and it has repercussions. It does. The Saudis have ingratiated themselves more and more with Russia because they both support the RSF, the former Janjaweed. They use them as proxy soldiers because Saudis don't like to get dirty. They don't. So they use the Janjaweed as the RSF. They use them as mercenaries. We've got to get involved, folks. We do. Ugly or not. Not everybody in the world can be like us, and thank God for our safety, liberties, and freedoms, but not everybody has them. So I'll pull another great comment. Putin uses Wagner. They use mercenary soldiers to control Africa. And they are keeping themselves alive off the diamonds, the gold, the oil, everything they steal from Africa. Russia is a terrorist state. They're a state sponsor of terrorism, and they are staying alive because we abandoned this region. Hold your nose, folks. Make the phone calls. Tell your representatives to get involved. Tell them you get it. There's no good side. But we got to pick a side. Because believe me, folks, you do not want a Sudan controlled by the RSF on the edge of the Red Sea. If you think The Houthis in Yemen are bad. Again, it goes back to scale, folks. Yeah, they're bad. Yeah, they're starving their own people. Babies are dying in Yemen right now with the pain and agony of starvation because of the Houthis. It's tiny compared to Sudan. Sudan is a much larger country, much larger situation. And if you think the Houthis can cause problems in Red Sea shipping, wait till you see what Sudan can do with the help of Russia. We have to get involved. I love you, folks. This is Old Texas Paul out. I'm sorry we ran long, and we'll do a good roundtable at the end of the next show. Enjoy your Sunday. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you all very much for the support. Keep getting this message out. We're not spectators anymore. We're participants. Let's get in this. Let's do this. Enjoy some Texas Cities at Night.